Welcome to the podcast of the InnCoCells project, making innovative and sustainable cosmetic ingredients for plants and plant cells. This is the third edition in which we welcome Dr. Gabriella Colucci, President and CEO of Artera Bioscience, one of the SMEs in the project and our local host for the first face-to-face project meeting in Naples. Hello, Gabriella.
Hi, Richard.
It would be great to start if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and interests, and where you work.
Well, I have a very long and complicated history. I've been doing a lot of things in my life. I've been traveling a lot for fun and to learn things about the world. I've been doing sport. I've been a fencer. I've been a horse riding person. I've been doing a lot of things. And finally, I reached what was my original dream, which was being a scientist. So I started working at Naples University, being interested in plant biology on a project which was involving the developing countries. So I was working for Nigeria, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. And I've been spending a little while there. And after that, I moved to University of San Diego, California, and in the meanwhile, I visited CSIRO in Australia and then back to University of California. So, in the overall, I've been doing this postdoc, going around in the world for 10 years before leading in a biotech pharmaceutical company, drug discovery company located in San Diego, in which I was hired to make a proof of concept and transfer of technology from pharma application to agrochemical application. From that group that I built it up in Arena Pharmaceutical, which then was listed in the Nasdaq stock market during my permanence there, I realized that after 10 years, it was time to get back to Europe. I'm extremely European. I have a British mother, an Italian father, German grandparents. So,
oh, wow. Quite a mix.
Quite a mix, but all European-based mix. So I was missing the old continent and I wanted to come back, and I proposed the company to spin off a more dedicated to agriculture and plant science company and not to biomedical in Napoli. It was not easy to convince the world that Napoli was the best place to have a biotech company, but in the overall, Napoli is one of the best places where you can build up a biotech, but where you can build up technological companies. I see Napoli like a potential San Diego of Europe. It's a beautiful city, beautiful golf, nice climate, fantastic universities and research centers. So a place where you can put together a group of scientists, of high qualified scientists who are present in the area.
Yes, for our listeners, we're actually doing this podcast at Artera's head offices here in Naples, and it's sited within a booming industrial district offering lots of space and lots of amenities.
Well, yeah, it's a nice little company. So I spin off the company in 2004, and it was not easy because I arrived with a Californian mindset in southern Italy. So no other biotech companies, no pharmaceutical companies, and I had to reinvent a little bit our business model, which was a business model starting from the arena, so from the American Californian business model in which you have venture capital, a lot of molecules to be screened, and a lot of companies that you could serve with services like high throughput screening and things like this, in which we were pretty good at. And we decided that the only way in which we could go is just take advantage of our knowledge and try to understand where our knowledge could be helpful in order to help industries. So we met first Isagro, which is an Italian agrochemical company, and they liked us immediately. And they became part of the shareholders, and we worked for agriculture objectives for the first few years. Our role in the partnership with Isagro was mainly to set up a high throughput screening system in order to screen the agrochemical, which would have given output, a convenient output for agrochemical application. In the same time, with our high-throughput screening system, we could reduce the time needed to go from hundreds of molecules to those compounds which had to be tested in agrochemical trials, so in the field. After a while, I was introduced to Mr. Dario Ferrari, who is the owner of InnCoCells. InnCoCells is a huge company. It's a multinational company, but now is listed in the stock market since 1 month. but has got its main headquarters in Milan. And they are the biggest third party producer of cosmetics, mainly makeup, but also skincare. At that time, I'm talking about 2009, 2010, they had just acquired CRB, which is a Swiss company specialized in skincare. And so they wanted to bring innovation in that area.
I believe CRB is one of our in our stakeholder group. Is one
Yes, it's one of our stakeholders. And CRB, well, Dario Ferrari immediately got the point that the only way in which you could bring real innovation in the skincare was with active ingredients. And biotech was the right tool in order to bring innovation in that area, in that field. And so we started working together. We liked each other in terms of capability of going towards results as soon as possible in the area in which it was really needed. And then we got married in the sense that we made and we incorporated a joint venture, which is InnCoCells and Arterra. The joint venture is named VitaLab and is the commercial entity which sells everything that Arterra discovers, develops, and then produces.
Do you still, I mean, we're obviously talking in the context of the InnCoCells project, which is about cosmetics, but do you still work in the agrochemical field?
No, we are not working actually now in the agrochemical field because the Isagro has been acquired by an American group, an Arizona group, and we don't really understand, and probably they don't really know it yet, if they're going to keep only the production, the chemical production, because they bought a chemical factory plus all the biosolution stuff, or they're going to keep the biosolution. So I have no idea of what it's going to be their plan, and we're waiting that they decide what they want to do. But in the same time, we open other areas like the medical device, the nutraceutical, and the agri-food area in which we do research because we are convinced that you need to have different areas of research in order to have cross-feeding of the different fields and to bring innovation.
Can you, for instance, use a lot of the same enabling technologies like your high-throughput screening in all these different fields?
Absolutely. Not only the technologies, but first of all, the mindset. So building something which can be useful for more different applications. And then find the right partners with whom develop it. Because obviously we are an industry, but we are a research industry, which is pretty rare in Italy. So we are typical green biotech. Then we need to have insights from the real industry, the one who work in the field and know the problems and know the regulatory issues and know everything is needed to be on the market. So we tend to create alliance with industrial partners, strong industrial partners, which don't have a biotech area of research. And so we become complementary to their research. And we get a lot of information, insights, and we learn a lot from the areas of expertise, starting from chemistry a lot of time, like in the makeup, or ending to the regulatory and to the market needs and to the marketing. We learn how to market our stuff. At the beginning, we did not even know how to send 1 kilo of active ingredient. Now we reached 14,000 kilos per year. So we did quite big progress in terms of acquiring internal knowledge. And this you can do it not by yourself and not thinking that alone you can reach the moon. You need to make alliances with research institutions, universities, and with other industries.
That was actually going to be the next thing I was going to ask you. So you mentioned collaborating with industry partners, but you also collaborate with academic institutions.
Well, I come from academia, so I'm still very much...
You still got one foot in each camp, so to speak.
Exactly. So what it makes us a little bit different from academia is that we know how to speak also with industry. So makes this easier for academia and from industrial people in order to be able to mesh together. A lot of time, our rule is a rule of technology transfer, so helping also the public institution in order to bring their products on the market and not to leave it in the drawer, because a lot of time we have fantastic innovation, which then is not brought to the market because there is a difficulty in communication between the producers and the inventors. And so we are pretty good in matching this gap of communication.
This is actually a nice segue to the main topic of the podcast, which is the origins of the InnCoCells project. So would you say that by participating in the InnCoCells project, this is a way for Arterra to address that specific gap that you've just mentioned?
I think that I can do it, but I think that in the InnCoCell, it's a quite particular kind of group, because beside Arterra, there is PAT, there are other companies. Well, let's don't talk about Merck, because we know who is Merck, and we don't need to teach to Merck how to do it. But beside Arterra, there are other small companies, very focused, with very good technology, and with very good business model. So I think that all the partners of InnCoCells, the industrial partners, will be able to bring this kind of mentality. We need products which get on the market. We don't need to win a Nobel Prize out of this project. So we know that there are some needs. We know that the European community is going towards pushing what they call the disruptive technologies. A disruptive technology is nothing else but something which is easy, low cost, and makes available a product to everyone, not only high price, and moreover reduces the amount of pollution, and so reduces probably the net income, but increases the marginalities. That's what technology has to do. So I think that most of the companies which are part of the InnCoCells are companies which have got very clear this message of a European community, and have got clear the message that we need to be more clean and more sustainable and more affordable.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with the inner workings of the consortium, could you briefly explain Arterra's role in the InnCoCells project?
Oh, well, each of us has got a kind of a little bit of an overlapping role, and all of us, most of us, are producers of active ingredient for cosmetics. So our goal is to have innovative active ingredients. We are starting, all of us, basically from two areas. One is food byproducts, in which Arterra is not very much involved in this project, but Arterra works on food byproducts since 10, 12 years, so we have a lot of products on the market which are deriving from the upcycling of the agri-food chain or the agricultural chain. On the other side, we're working on plant cell culture. Plant cell culture is a model in order to valorize and use the maximum that a plant can produce, but in vitro condition, completely under control, without any agricultural inputs, and without wasting soil. Soil is important, but the certification is growing. Soil is needed to make food, and make food for people. So when we have to do something different, which is not food, we need to find something which is cleaner, something which is not taking the place of more primary needs of the world population, and can exploit the maximum. So cell culture are able to be pushed to produce more metabolites, because there are plants usually live in the field. If it's raining or sunny, they cannot run away at home. They have to stay there, and they react to external environmental condition, just producing molecules which are the same molecules that we use as pharmaceutical: vitamin C, salicylic acid, which is aspirin, and polyphenols. And so all the molecules that are good for our health are the one that the person produces not for us. She produces for herself, because she wants to protect herself from abiotic stresses. So it's part of her business. She needs to take care of herself. She can't run away from the field. So cell culture enable all of this, give this opportunity, and can give rise to very good products, not only to be directed towards the cosmetic market, but also towards the nutraceutical market, the food, pharmaceutical. Up to now, there is, at least in Italy, still low culture on plants and the use of plants for this, but is increasing. And I think the duty of a project like this is to make clear to the world that plant cells are just little biofactories that can produce what you want in a clean way without making waste. And you can use all part of it, because everything it's usable. Everything has got its activity, starting from a cell wall, is cellulose, and could be recycled, reused, and upcycled, ending to all the metabolites, which can be used in pharma, cosmetic, nutraceutical, or even food.
Yes, this does sound like an excellent way to utilise sustainable resources that we have at our disposal to manufacture new products while making sure we minimise any negative environmental impact. And I know you maybe can't give away too much at this point, but to tantalise our listeners, are you able to say anything about the progress you've made in the project so far from Arterra's side?
Well, From our side, it's going pretty well. We have cell culture that we selected. We're already starting to evaluate them. The strengths of Arterra, besides cell culture capabilities, is also the capability of identify function of the different extracts. Because internally, we have been developing in the last years a very strong platform for screening of assays, for screening for different kind of activities which are related to skincare. So we have over 100 assays in vitro on cells, and then we have the ex vivo, so in the explants. And this makes our research going much faster because we're able to do high throughput screening on a certain number of cell lines, and we do different kind of extraction. All our extraction are always environmental friendly, so no solvents. We use just water, very little water. We try to use physical systems like pressure and depressure in order to have less waste, and we produce active ingredient at the end, which are lyophilized and with very little water, and so no need of preservative system, completely natural. So the project is going pretty well.
That's excellent news to hear. And I know it's quite early days. For our listeners who aren't aware, at the time of this recording, we are 6 months into the project, so we've got 3.5 years to go. But I'd like to ask you, Gabriella, what ultimately would you like to achieve in the 4 years of the project if everything goes to plan?
Well, beside of what we want to achieve from the project in terms of materiality, so in terms of active ingredients, we would like to have like 4, 5, 6 new active ingredients. We usually launch at least 3 or 4 active ingredients per year. And if a couple of this comes out of InnCoCells, it would be nice because we are allocating resources in there. But what I'm more happy about is that what it comes out is an interaction with a very interesting group of very interesting people, which are exchanging ideas, opinion, not only in science but in general. And this makes my guys and girls in the company more knowledgeable in general.
How many people actually work here at Arterra?
About 40 we are.
Wow, so it's a very big company.
Well, between the two, there are 4 which are Vita Lab, more marketing, but just 4, and the rest is quite a big company. Yeah, it's to be a research company, it grew up quite a bit, but we did the IPO 2 years ago, so we are listed in the stock market, and since then we had the opportunity of growing quite fast. And in the same time, I must say, I shouldn't say, we are taking advantage of a Brexit. Quite a few of Italian postdocs working in places like Oxford or Cambridge, very, very talented guys, are coming back to Italy, and having a place like Arterra, they're very happy to come back and find their job in their own town. So,
For a bit of context here for our listeners, my company is the only UK partner in the consortium, and luckily the project was approved before the Brexit clock ran out. I'm not really sure what the future will bring in terms of participation in Horizon projects, but it's personally very satisfying and fulfilling to be involved in these large collaborative European research projects. I think this is the 5th or 6th one for me, going right back to the 6th Framework project in 2004. And really, it's a terrible shame that there are more barriers for UK institutions to overcome, but that's a situation we have to deal with now, unfortunately. Anyway, dragging us back to the topic of InnCoCells, do you think the project will have a big impact on Arterra, assuming we achieve all the objectives in the project? Would it, for example, expand your product range, or do you think there may be advantages in terms of new research or networking?
I think both. And any project that we do it putting inside the maximum of ourselves and try to get out the maximum of what we can get out. So, as I told you, starting from a personal point of view, personal in the sense of person to person, I'm sure that the group working on the InnCoCell is going to get out a lot because communication is important, diversity is important, and everything makes the company grow. So if my scientists grow, well, obviously the company has a positive effect. On the other side, also in terms of portfolio, we will have an increase of active ingredient to present on the market, and we will have a diversification in terms of species, in terms of storage. So yeah, as all the projects, also this one will have a strong impact. Uh, but that's something that is part of our DNA. We participate only to the projects in which we are interested from a scientific point of view. We do not apply to projects to get money. We apply to projects because we want to carry out a project with those people. If a project is financed, is okay. If it's not financed, we go straight forward just the same.
Have you worked with many of the InnCoCells partners before?
Well, yeah, I know Venea people since ever, and I know VTT because we have been working together for a long period. I know Bellista, Gea, already she's been working, she's been doing a little part of her thesis in Arterra when she was a very young student. And yeah, I know quite a few people.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I've known the VTT team since the 1990s and many of the others for almost as long. It's actually one of the best things about being in these Horizon projects, the building up of long-term collaborations and getting a mix of old familiar faces and of course then the newer people joining the team. Anyway, it looks like we're just about out of time here, so I'm going to bring this edition of the podcast to a close. Thank you very much, Gabriella, for inviting me to Arterra's headquarters. It's a fantastic and very busy place, and it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Also, thanks to our listeners for joining us. The next edition of the podcast will be coming from Darmstadt in Germany, when we'll be talking to the group from the Technical University of Darmstadt. So join us next time for another instalment, and bye for now.